Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
What's up, everyone, and welcome. This is the fourth episode in my weekly review of security events that happened in the past week. This week takes us on a wild and crazy roller coaster ride involving new vulnerabilities in Kaseya's products. This time it's with their Unitrends product instead of what happened last time with their VSA product. Russia completely separating from the global public internet for over a month, or at least testing it for over a month, and involving Iranian hacker Aerobics instructors. Let's jump right in and see what happened. I'm going to start off with a question. Are passwords outdated? Good question. I based the question on an article from Krebs on Security titled The Lifecycle of a Breached Database. Every time there's another data breach, we're asked to change our password at the breached entity. But the reality is that in most cases, by the time the victim organization discloses an incident publicly, the information has already been harvested many times over by profit-seeking cybercriminals. When a website's user database gets compromised, that information invariably turns up on hacker forums. There, denizens with computer rigs that are built primarily for mining virtual currencies can set to work using those systems to crack passwords. How successful this password cracking is depends a great deal on the length of one's password and the type of password hashing algorithm the victim website uses to obfuscate their user passwords. But a decent crypto mining rig can quickly crack a majority of password hashes generated with MD5, which is one of the weaker and more commonly used password hashing algorithms. So, you hand that over to a person who used to mine Ethereum or Bitcoin, and if they have a large enough dictionary or pre-computed hashes, then you can essentially break 60 to 70% of the hashed passwords in a day or two. And this is according to Fabian Wosar, who's the chief technology officer at the security firm MCSoft. From there, the list of email addresses and corresponding cracked passwords will be run through various automated tools that check how many email address and password pairs in a given leaked data set also work at other popular websites. And heaven help those people who've reused their email password elsewhere. For example, you use the same password on your Twitter account or email password on your Twitter account that you do on your Facebook or your Amazon account or whatever. This sifting of databases for low-hanging fruit and password reuse most often yields less than 1% success rate, and usually far less than 1%. But even at a hit rate below 1%, it can be profitable haul for fraudsters, particularly when they're password testing databases with millions of users. So the more insidious threat with hacked databases comes from not from the password reuse, but from targeted phishing activity in the early days of a breach, when relatively few of these evil people have got their hands on a hot new hacked database. Earlier in July, customers of the soccer jersey retailer classicfootballshirts.co.uk started receiving emails with a cashback offer. The messages addressed customers by their name and referenced past order numbers and payment amounts tied to each account. The emails encouraged recipients to click a link to accept the cashback offer, and the link went to a lookalike domain that requested bank information. So, they're taking a cracked database from a company, and they're looking, for example, on an e-commerce website. They're looking at, if you happen to be a customer of that e-commerce website, your past orders that you've made, and they can gain access to all of the information, like how much you paid, what you bought. They can then use that within a phishing scam email to make you feel comfortable. Be like, oh, this must be coming from, in this case, classicfootballshirts.co.uk, and they're offering me $50. You kidding me? You click on the link, you go to a lookalike domain, they ask you for your bank information, and boom, they have it. So it soon became clear that customer data relating to historic orders had been compromised to conduct this attack. And that's according to Classic Football Shirt in their statement about the incident. Now, here are some tips, as listed by Krebs on Security, to help avoid falling prey to incessant data breaches and increasingly sophisticated phishing schemes. Number 1, avoid clicking on links and attachments in an email, even in messages that appear to be sent from someone you have heard from previously. And as the phishing examples above demonstrate, many of today's phishing scams use elements from hacked databases to make their lures more convincing. Number 2, urgency should be a giant red flag. Most phishing scams invoke a temporal element that warns of negative consequences should you fail to respond or act quickly. Take a deep breath. If you're not sure whether the message is legitimate, visit the site or service in question manually. Now, ideally, they say using a browser bookmark so as to avoid any kind of if you mistype it, you could fall to typo squatting sites. Number 3, don't reuse passwords. If you're the kind of person who likes to use the same password across multiple sites, then you definitely need to be using a password manager. That's because password managers handle the tedious task of creating and remembering unique, complex passwords on your behalf. All you need to do is remember a single, strong master password or passphrase. In essence, you effectively get to use the same password across all websites because you only need to remember your master password. And then the password manager takes care of the rest. Some of the more popular password managers include Dashlane, KeepPass, LastPass, and RoboForm. Number 4, phone-based phishing uses hacked databases too. A great many scams are perpetrated over the phone, leveraging personal and financial information gleaned from past data breaches to make them sound more believable. Remember, when in doubt, hang up, look them up, and call back. Let's move on to phishing. The very first story, ransomware via call center. BazaCall means no email attachment or link required for infection. Microsoft's continuing investigation into BazaCall campaigns, those that use fraudulent call centers to trick unsuspecting users into downloading the BazaLoader malware, shows that this threat is more dangerous than what's been discussed publicly in other security blogs and covered by the media. Apart from having backdoor capabilities, the BazaLoader payload from these campaigns also gives a remote attacker hands-on keyboard control on an affected user's device, which allows for a vast network compromise. Attacks emanating from the BazaCall threat could move quickly within a network, conduct extensive data exfiltration and credential theft, and distribute ransomware within 48 hours of the initial compromise. So they're getting much faster. BazaCall campaigns forego malicious links or attachments in email messages in favor of phone calls that recipients are misled into calling. We move on to patches. That was quick with phishing, but important. Critical flaw in Microsoft Hyper-V could allow RCE and DOS. Researchers Peleg Hader of SafeBreach and Ofer Harpaz of Guardicore disclosed details about a critical flaw in Microsoft Hyper-V, tracked to CVE 2021-28476, that can allow triggering a DOS condition to execute arbitrary code on it. The flaw resides in Microsoft Hyper-V's network switch driver, vmswitch.sys. It affects Windows 10 and Windows Server 2012 through 2019. The CVE 2021-28476 flaw has a critical severity score of 9.9 out of 10. It was addressed by Microsoft in May. This issue, according to them, allows a guest VM to force the Hyper-V host's kernel to read from an arbitrary, potentially invalid address. The contents of the address read would not be returned to the guest VM. In most circumstances, this would result in a denial of service of the Hyper-V host bug check due to reading an unmapped address. It is possible to read from a memory mapped device register corresponding to a hardware device attached to the Hyper-V host, which may trigger additional hardware device specific side effects that could compromise the Hyper-V host's security. And that's how the advisory published by the company read. That's it for patches. Now we're on to attacks and vulnerabilities and updates. We start off with DIVD disclosing 3 new unpatched Kaseya Unitrends 0 days, and that's what I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. Security researchers warned of 3 new 0-day vulnerabilities in the Kaseya Unitrends service. The vulnerabilities include remote code execution and authenticated privilege escalation on the client side. Yup, the same Kaseya from the July ransomware attack. In my episode about the July 2021 ransomware attack against Kaseya, you might remember I told you what the CEO said his biggest takeaway was. Don't wait. 24 or 36 hours offline is better than being the victim of ransomware. I hope that one of the changes they make is that they do not rely too much on nonprofit organizations to do their QA and bug testing. Now, if you've not watched it yet, why not? Gotta ask. Every piece of information we can learn about those attackers, the more we can think like them and in turn question our current policies and make improvements. So here's a link above and one pinned in the comment section below to that episode. Now, if you watch my episode on Who is Revel, you might recall that the July 2021 ransomware attack against Kaseya was not the first. There was one involving Kaseya back in 2019. So again, begs the question, how in depth are the internal teams looking at doing the testing of their individual software packages against, let's say, the environments where they're truly being used. So if you haven't watched my episode on Revel and you want to learn about where they came from, how they worked, and where they've gone, then here is a link above and one pinned in the comment section below. Now, to get back to Kaseya Unitrends, it's a cloud-based enterprise solution that provides affordable, low-maintenance data protection offerings to complement existing client backup and recovery solutions. Experts from the Dutch Institute of Vulnerability Disclosure, DIVD, disclosed 3 new vulnerabilities in the Unitrends backup product that have yet to be addressed. And again, DIVD was, in fact, the company that made Kaseya aware of the last vulnerabilities, which was exploited against their VSA software. Unfortunately, the day that Kaseya was implementing those is the day they got attacked. DIVD chairman Victor Gevers told Bleeping Computer that the advisor was originally shared with 68 government certs under a coordinated disclosure, but became public after one of them shared it with an organization service desk operating in the financial services. Cayuga Medical Center notifies patients of breaches. We're still first learning about some victims of the Acelion data breach that took place back in December and January, when threat actors exploited a number of vulnerabilities in the firm's old file transfer platform. Cayuga Medical Center reports that they were notified in May by Guidehouse, who had been notified in March by Acelion in the breach in January. The Wisconsin Institute of Urology notified patients of breaches. The Wisconsin Institute of Urology issued a press release about a breach of protected health information that was the result of a compromised employee email account. WIU discovered suspicious activity on May 26th, but it was not until June 9th that they confirmed unauthorized access to the account and could begin to determine what it was or what was in it and who might need to be notified. While the information varied depending on the individual, WIU's investigation determined that at the time of the incident, the impacted systems contained information including names, and depending on the individual, date of birth, medical treatment and or medical diagnosis information, and health insurance information. Any individuals whose social security numbers may have been impacted are receiving written correspondence via U.S. mail. Now, WIU is unaware of any fraudulent misuse of data related to this incident, but that's nice. And it's not reassuring. If you recall from a previous story just a few minutes ago in this episode, attackers are using breach database data to make more sophisticated phishing scams via email and over the phone. So if you're a customer or know someone who is, definitely be on the lookout for scams related to your diagnosis, your treatments, or anything about the provider. If you know someone who is a customer, definitely make them aware of it. Health insurer notifies members after third-party vendor suffers ransomware attack. Renaissance Life and Health Insurance Company of America says they were notified on June 1st by their vendor, Secure Administrative Solutions LLC, of a ransomware incident that involved unauthorized access to its systems occurred between March 15th and April 15th, 2021. The threat actors were reportedly able to exfiltrate protected health information from SAS, including names, addresses, dates of birth, health insurance policy numbers, and other health insurance information, like policy type, premium amount, insurance date, etc. SAS appears to have paid ransom to threat actors who swore to destroy the data. Of course, that pledge is really worth nothing in terms of assurances to consumers, but Renaissance is letting customers and members know that SAS tried to protect them after the fact. If that counts for anything, and it actually might count for something if anyone is contemplating litigation. Again, this here is a partner of the corporation that was attacked. We have to take a look at how these partners are being vetted and how these partners are being validated that they're taking the right security measures into account. Blood Service hit by a cyber attack, another type of health, if you will, company. The Western Cape Blood Service, WCBS, has confirmed its information systems have been hit by a cyber attack. The nonprofit regional health organization collects blood from voluntary blood donors in the Western Cape and provides safe blood products and services to the community. WCBS said a cyber attack incident was being investigated by contracted experts to determine the origins and reinforce security measures and restore information systems. The effects on operations are significant, but by reverting to manual systems and other contingency solutions, the collecting, processing, testing, and issuing of blood products will continue uninterrupted, the organization said. In response to questions on Facebook about the exposure of personal information, WCBS said it was still investigating the extent of the attack and would communicate once it had learned more. North Carolina Sand Hill Center remains silent after threat actors claim to have hacked them and exfiltrated 634 gigabytes of their files. Sand Hill Center in North Carolina manages public mental health, intellectual developmental disabilities, and substance abuse disorder services for citizens of Anson, Guilford, Harnett, Hoke, Lee, Montgomery, Moore, Randolph, and Richmond counties. As a publicly funded local management entity managed care organization, that's a mouthful, Sand Hills Center does not provide services directly, but describes itself as an agent of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. On some unknown date, who knows when it was, Sand Hills Center was allegedly hacked by threat actors who claim to have exfiltrated 634 gigabytes of data. The incident is posted on a website run by Marketo, who auctions or sells data from incidents. For each listing, Marketo generally provides a small sample of data as proof of claims. As of today, Marketo claims to have received 137 bids for the Sand Hill Center data. The DOJ says SolarWinds hack impacted 27 state attorneys' offices. After a couple of years, you think you wouldn't be hearing about SolarWinds anymore, but here we are again. The Russian hackers who orchestrated the SolarWinds supply chain attack pivoted to the internal network of the U.S. Department of Justice, from where they gained access to Microsoft Office 365 email accounts belonging to employees at 27 state attorneys' offices, the DOJ said. The DOJ said it believed the hackers had access to compromised Microsoft Office 365 accounts between May 7th and December 27th, 2020. While other districts were impacted to a lesser degree, the APT group gained access to these Office 365 email accounts of at least 80% of employees working in the U.S. Attorney's offices located in Eastern, Northern, Southern, and Western districts of New York, the department said. So, if you want to hear the whole list, here it goes. Central District of California, Northern District of California, District of Columbia, Northern District of Florida, Middle District of Florida, Southern District of Florida, Northern District of Georgia, District of Kansas, District of Maryland, District of Montana, District of Nebraska, my microphone's in the way, District of New Jersey, Eastern District of New York, Northern District of New York, Southern District of New York, Western District of New York, Eastern District of North Carolina, Eastern District of Pennsylvania, Middle District of Pennsylvania, Western District of Pennsylvania, and Northern District of Texas. Ransomware changes. DoppelPaymer rebrands and Babuk evolves. The ransomware landscape constantly changes, which can make it difficult to track which attackers are coming, going, or simply rebranding. DoppelPaymer, aka DoppelPaymer with LE, ransomware as a service operation, which has gone relatively quiet since early May, posted no victims to its data leak site since May 6th and no leaked files since June 25th. But one expert says the operation appears to have been rebranded by its operator, Evil Corp, in an attempt to avoid sanctions imposed on the crime group in December 2019 by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. The Babuk ransomware operation also recently appears to have altered its approach, if not splintered, following its late April ransomware attack against the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. McAfee, Babuk ransomware decryptor causes encryption beyond repair. A new report from McAfee, Advanced Threat Research, spotlights the Babuk ransomware gang, which recently announced it would be developing a cross-platform binary aimed at Linux, Unix, and ESXi or VMware systems. Babuk wasted little time in infecting high-profile victims despite numerous problems with the binary. Researchers noted that it seems that Babuk has adopted live beta testing on its victims when it comes to its Golang binary and decryptor development. We have seen several victims' machines encrypted beyond repair due to either a faulty binary or a faulty decryptor. They go on to note, even if a victim gave in to the demands and was forced to pay the ransom, they still could not get their files back. We strongly hope that the bad coding also affects Babuk's relationship with its affiliates. The new destructive Meteor wiper malware used in the Iranian railway attack. In a new report by Sentinel-1, security researcher Juan Andreas Guerrero Saad revealed that the cyber attack on Iran utilized a previously unseen file wiper called Meteor. A wiper is a malware that intentionally deletes files on a computer and causes it to become unbootable. Unlike ransomware attacks, destructive wiper attacks are not used to generate revenue for the attackers. Instead, the goal is to cause chaos for an organization or to distract admins while another attack is taking place. The attack itself is dubbed Meteor Express and utilizes a toolkit of batch files and executables to wipe a system, lock the device's master boot record, and install a screen locker. The threat actor downloads close to 300,000 personal IDs and photos. A hacker was able to obtain over 280,000 personal identity photos following an attack on the Estonian State Information System last Friday. The suspect is reportedly a resident of Tallinn. The culprit had already obtained personal names and ID codes and was able to obtain a third component, the photos, by making individual requests from thousands of IP addresses. This data was not, however, enough for the hacker to access e-state services, meaning the normal means of authentication, like the ID card, mobile ID, and smart ID, and they have not been compromised. Speaking at a press conference Wednesday, Oscar Gross, head of the Central Criminal Police Cybercrime Office, said that, to date, the individual who committed the attack has had the data he hacked seized and confiscated by the police, adding that the perpetrator was a resident of Tallinn. So, this resident of Tallinn, this perpetrator, is in custody, as you can tell. Unknown number of people's personal information for sale online after Homewood Health hacked. Vancouver, CTV News has learned the personal information of British Columbians has been leaked online, with an unknown number of people and agencies potentially still vulnerable after a data breach at a mental health services provider. Homewood Health, headquartered in Ontario with services and contracts across Canada, acknowledges it was hacked earlier this year and has recently begun contacting affected companies and agencies whose information may be compromised, including BC Housing, TransLink, and the Provincial Health Services Authority. CTV News has confirmed at least some of the information leaked online is authentic, although the bulk of the data is still on the auction block at Marketo, a site that describes itself as a leaked data marketplace. There appear to be hundreds of bids from prospective buyers. Hackers pose as Flirty aerobics instructors to target employees. Security firm Proofpoint said in a Wednesday report that researchers had identified a years-long social engineering and targeted malware campaign by the Iranian state-aligned threat actor TA456, also known as Tortoiseshell. The California-based cybersecurity firm said that TA456 built a relationship across corporate and personal communication platforms with an employee of a small subsidiary of an aerospace defense contractor by using the social media persona Marcy Flores. According to Proofpoint, the hackers portrayed Flores as an aerobics instructor and a graduate of the University of Liverpool, and that over a period of at least 8 months, Flores sent TA456's target benign email messages, photographs, and a video to establish her veracity and build rapport with the intended victim. The report comes just weeks after Facebook said that it had disrupted efforts by Tortoiseshell to target U.S. military personnel and the defense industry in other countries, including the UK and throughout Europe. BlackMatter ransomware targets companies with revenue of $100 million and more. Analysts have discovered a new ransomware gang launched into operation this week, claiming to combine the best features of the now defunct DarkSide and Revel ransomware groups. Again, here's a link to my episode on Revel. Named BlackMatter, the group is currently recruiting affiliates or collaborators through ads posted on 2 cybercrime forums named Exploit and XSS. According to the gang's ads, BlackMatter is interested in working with brokers who can grant it access to Apex corporate networks for companies that have revenues of $100 million a year or larger. The group boasted about having the ability to encrypt different operating system versions and architectures. This includes the likes of Windows systems via safe mode, Linux, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, VMware ESX5 Plus virtual endpoints, and network-attached storages, devices such as Synology, OpenMedia Vault, FreeNAS, and TrueNAS. Student private information breached in Fairfax County Public Schools. So Fairfax County Public Schools, the victim of a September 2020 hack breach, has been releasing confidential student information for years without the permission from students to do so. That was the claim made in a story on Special Education Action, a website dedicated to informing parents about the rights in public school systems such as Fairfax, particularly in the area of special education. The article, written by the site's editor Kaylee Oettinger, discusses how the school system may have violated rules under the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. The revelation came when Oettinger received a thumb drive from FCPS with documents that were in response to a FERPA request she had made. That drive contained 12 unredacted reports with personally identifiable information related to students and their families. Oettinger makes it clear in her story that she did not request these documents. Cyberattack shuts down services in Greece's second largest city. Thessaloniki, Greece's agencies were shut down over an electronic intrusion. That happened July 23rd, with Deputy Mayor of Business Planning, E-Government and Mitigation Policy Georgos Avaralis saying the city, which is again Greece's second largest, closed its services and web applications so that proper investigations can be carried out and we do not risk being attacked again, with no report what kind of defenses it had already. Speaking to local radio, Avaralis said that a malicious virus had been installed with hackers asking for a ransom to unlock the files, although it wasn't said how much or if it was paid. Chinese cyberspies use a new PlugX variant dubbed Thor in attacks against MS Exchange servers. A China-linked cyber espionage group tracked as PK Plug, aka Mustang Panda and Honeymite, which is known for targeting Southeast Asia, exploited vulnerabilities in the Microsoft Exchange server to deploy a previously undocumented variant of PlugX on compromised systems. Researchers from Palo Alto Network's Unit 42 team tracked the new version of the PlugX malware as Thor. They reported that the rat was used as a post-exploitation tool deployed on one of the compromised servers. The new variant spotted by Palo Alto researchers includes a change to its core source code. VXers replaced its trademark word plug to Thor. The earliest Thor sample that was spotted by the experts is dated back to August 2019. The Thor variant also implements new features such as an enhanced mechanism to deliver malicious payloads. South Africa's logistics company Transnet SOC is hit by a ransomware attack. South Africa's logistics company Transnet SOC was hit by a disruptive cyber attack that halted its operations at all the port's terminals. The attack took place on Thursday, July 22nd. Port terminals are operational across the system, with the exception of container terminals, as the Navis system on the trucking side has been affected, Transnet revealed. The vessels moving in and out of the ports were being recorded manually. Lockbit 2.0, the first ransomware that uses group policies to encrypt Windows domains. A new variant of the Lockbit 2.0 ransomware is now able to encrypt Windows domains by using Active Directory group policies. Researchers from Malware Hunter Team and Bleeping Computer, along with the malware expert Vitaly Kremez, reported spotting a new version of the Lockbit 2.0 ransomware that encrypts Windows domains by using Active Directory group policies. Kremez explained that this is the first ransomware that automates this process. Like other ransomware operators, Lockbit 2.0 implemented a ransom-as-a-service model and maintains a network of affiliates. Researchers published an exploit code for a high-severity privilege escalation flaw, CVE 2021-3490, in Linux kernel eBPF on Ubuntu machines. The security researcher Manfred Paul of the Red Rocket CTF team released the exploit code for a high-severity privilege escalation bug tracked as CVE 2021-3490 in Linux kernel eBPF, which stands for Extended Berkeley Packet Filter. A local attacker could exploit the flaw to escalate privileges on Ubuntu machines. Extended Berkeley Packet Filter is a kernel technology starting in Linux 4.x that allows programs to run without having to exchange the kernel source code or adding additional modules. It's a sort of lightweight sandbox virtual machine inside the Linux kernel where programmers can run BPF bytecode that takes advantage of specific kernel resources. Paul reported the bug in May through the Trend Micro's zero-day initiative. He demonstrated that user-supplied programs are not properly validated before being executed. There's a flaw in Zimba, which could allow to take over webmail server of a targeted organization. Cybersecurity researchers have discovered multiple security vulnerabilities tracked at CVE 2021-35208 and CVE 2021-35209 in Zimbra email collaboration software. An unauthenticated attacker could chain these vulnerabilities to fully take over a Zimbra webmail server of a targeted organization. An attacker could trigger the flaws to potentially compromise email accounts by sending a malicious message. The vulnerabilities were discovered by Sonar Source Vulnerability Research, Simon Scannell. The impact of the flaws could be severe because Zimbra is used by over 200,000 businesses and over 1,000 government and financial institutions. The CVE 2021-35208 flaw is stored cross-site scripting issue that resides in the ZM mail message view.js of the calendar invite component in Zimmer Collaboration Suite 8.8.x before 8.8.15 patch 23. It was rated with a CVS score of 5.4. It's a bit anticlimactic, but again, chaining both of these together becomes very dangerous. So CVE 2021-35209 is a proxy servlet open redirect vulnerability. Hiding malware inside a model of a neural network. Researchers Ji Wang, Kaoge Liu, and Zheng Sui presented a technique to deliver malware through neural network models to evade the detection without impacting the performance of the network. Tests conducted by the experts demonstrated how to embed 36.9 megabytes of malware into a 178 megabyte AlexNet model within 1% accuracy loss. So when they integrated this into the model, they got within a 1% accuracy loss. That means it's less than a percent less accurate. This means that the threat is completely transparent to antivirus engines. Experts believe that with the massive adoption of artificial intelligence, malware authors will look with an increasing interest in the use of neural networks. We hope this work could provide a referenceable scenario for the defense on neural network-assisted attacks, they said. The experts were able to select a layer within an already trained model, like an image classifier, and then embed the malware into that layer. And there's a diagram here onto the left, and if you Google this and want to learn more about the story, you'll definitely be able to find it. So, in other security news, Russia disconnected itself from the rest of the internet. Russia successfully tested disconnecting itself from the global internet, according to a report by the BBC Daily Business newspaper. RBC Daily says it obtained documents and spoke to sources who told them that the tests were conducted from June 15th to July 15th, and they worked. Russia has long been working on bringing more of its internet infrastructure under national control. In 2019, Russia's sovereign internet law came into effect, which gave the government power to disconnect the country from the global internet in face of a cyber attack. One part of the law was a requirement that Russian internet service providers install deep package inspection tools within the country. That allows providers to locate the source of web traffic and reroute and block them if needed. D-Box provides an update following a ransomware incident. D-Box Technologies Incorporated, a world leader in haptic and immersive entertainment, announced that the corporation is gradually resuming its activities following a ransomware cyber attack against its internal IT systems in July. All major IT systems have been restored, and the restoration work should be finalized in the next few weeks. Production was never completely interrupted, and recovery of its various internal IT systems has begun. D-Box has always maintained, according to them, a clear separation between its internal IT systems and services for its partners. They go on to say the corporation believes that the impact of the cyber attack was limited to internal systems and that its services to studios and theater operators were not affected. Spammer floods Babuk ransomware gang's forum with gay porn gifts. A spammer has flooded the forum of the Babuk ransomware group with a gay orgy porn gifts after the Babuk gang failed to pay a $5,000 ransom demand the threat actor made on Friday. So, Babuk is a ransomware gang that makes you pay a ransom to decrypt your data, and somebody just made a ransom against them. They didn't pay, so they got blasted with porn. While initially the Babuk gang derided the extortion attempt and deleted the spammer's initial post, hundreds of forum topics have since been created on the forum. User profiles registered by The Record, who came out with the story, have disappeared twice, suggesting the Babuk gang has wiped its forum clean at least on 2 occasions as a result of the spam waves that have flooded the site over the weekend. The Israeli government agencies visit NSO group offices. Authorities from multiple agencies of the Israeli government paid a visit to the offices of the NSO group as part of a new investigation into claims that the secretive firm is selling its spyware to threat actors for targeted attacks, according to the Israeli Ministry of Defense. A single tweet from the ministry announced the raid on Wednesday, but did not disclose exactly which government agents participated. Specifically, Israeli agents visited NSO Group's offices in Herzliya, near the city of Tel Aviv, according to a post by analyst firm Recorded Futures The Record. Representatives from the number of bodies came today to NSO to examine the publications and claims raised in the matter. The ministry tweeted, "A controversial tool calls out thousands of hackable websites. PunkSpider is back and crawling hundreds of millions of sites for vulnerabilities." At the DEF CON Hacker Conference, Alejandro Caceres and Jason Hopper plan to release, or rather to upgrade and re-release after a years-long hiatus, a tool called PunkSpider. Essentially, a search engine that constantly crawls the entire web. PunkSpider automatically identifies hackable vulnerabilities in websites and then allows anyone to search those results to find sites susceptible to everything from defacement to data leaks. PunkSpider's creators say it will catalog hundreds of thousands of those unpatched vulnerabilities at launch, making all of them publicly accessible. Caceres and Hopper acknowledged that in doing so, their tool could potentially expose those sites to real-world attacks, but they hope that visibility will force the web's administrators to acknowledge that their websites contain simple, glaring, and in some case dangerous flaws, and hopefully fix them. I can just about guarantee you that this is probably going to be the first thing every ransomware gang checks every single day as soon as they get out of bed. But let's see what happens. With that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe and smash the bell. And that's it. Take care. See you guys on the next episode.
Don't forget to ride!